diverse community, we want to make sure that we can give access to our product to as many families as possible. When we say we're here to help Canadian families, please note that we also want to include newcomers. And that's why we have these guidelines. So for life insurance, if we talk about IAPAR specifically, if your client has a work permit, doesn't matter how long they've been in Canada for, as long as it's a valid work permit at time of the application, they can get any amount of life insurance coverage as long as it makes sense financially. So it's only going to be based on financial underwriting that will determine how much they can qualify for, but otherwise they can submit any amount. We'll get back to you with the amount that you can qualify for. As long as it makes sense financially, there shouldn't be any issue. And then in terms of life insurance for student permit holders, we will have to look at how long they've been in Canada for. If it has been less than 3 years, there's going to be some limitation. It's going to be up to $250,000 maximum. If it's been 3 years or more, there's no specific maximum, same as work permit holders, as long as it makes sense financially. And it will be the same guideline for conventional refugees. Now, for those who are here on a visitor status or no status, can they get life insurance that are fully underwritten? So when I say fully underwritten, I can also talk about term life insurance or any permanent life insurance, whether that's IPAR or universal life. And guess what? They can also get this product up to $100,000, but provided that they have no intention of living outside North America for more than 9 weeks over the next 2 years. That's what they can get. If they want a higher amount, Access Life is there where they can answer the questions to see if they can qualify for a certain amount. There is a guaranteed issue with Access Life. Everyone is going to be approved, but we just need to answer the questions before we can see how much the client can qualify for. So if the client is interested in something more permanent and would like to have a low volatility asset diversification, or would like to just maximize their net estate value, or maybe just build their wealth by focusing on short-term growth, but they want to have a tax-sheltered growth, having access to liquidity, IPAR could be the solution for them. So in order to really understand what we have, let's look at the basics. How does IPAR work? The name itself says it, participating. So because it's a whole life insurance, which is the basic coverage, we got a guaranteed whole life here. A guaranteed whole life, even when it's not participating, is going to give you some guaranteed death benefit and some guaranteed surrender value. If you do have a quick payment option, you can also get that guaranteed quick pay, 10 years, 20 years, or if you don't want a quick pay, you still have it to age 100. But you get that guaranteed feature. So I would say that would be the main feature of whole life. That could be a factor of decision for the client if they're looking for something more flexible, something more guaranteed. Usually they want to compare whole life with universal life. I will say for whole life IPAR, it's going to be more about the guarantees. And then because of the client's participation in the company's experience, as this product is a participating product, when the client decides to purchase the product, it means that they're participating in the company's experience, which means they can get dividend. But when they get the dividend, which is always paid on the contract anniversary of the policy, when they get the dividend, the client will have different options. And that's what I like about IE. We always try to give your client different options in terms of how would you like to receive your dividend, Mr. Client? Because yes, they will have different needs, different situations, but they also can have different preferences. Some clients would like to have something right away. Some clients would like to leave it in the policy so that they can grow more cash values. It really depends on the client's preferences and their needs as well. But we do have the options. So we're going to talk about these options in the next couple of slides. We also have another option that is called ADO, which is available when you take the option that says paid up addition. And the ADO is something that we also like to call growth accelerator, which means the client is going to have more debt benefit, more cash values over the years, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in detail after. Premium offset. Like I said, PAR is different from Universal Life because Universal Life is more flexible. PAR is not as flexible. In Universal Life, you can choose your quick pay option. With PAR, you cannot really do it, but you do have something that is called premium offset, which is going to be available when you select paid up addition. So how the premium offset works is really that option is going to provide for a time in your illustration when the policy owner can stop paying their premium. So when they're going to stop paying the premium, they're going to change the dividend option to annual premium reduction, which then means that the dividends are going to be used to pay the premium. So you're going to see that on the illustration. If the client would like to stop paying quicker, then you're going to see when the client can have that premium offset. In terms of the dividend options, so we have annual premium reduction. When you see these options, I always want you to think about the name because sometimes the name really tells you how it works. Annual premium reduction is just the fact that we're going to use the dividend to reduce the next annual premium payable. Then we have another option that is called payable in cash, like the name says. Payable in cash. What we want to do here is, especially for clients who would like to have the liquidity right away, we can send them a check. When we pay the dividend on the contract anniversary of the policy, we can send them a check if this is what they selected. Then another option that is called deposit with interest. Deposit with interest just means the dividends are going to be deposited in a savings account with interest. You don't have to leave it in the contract. And another option, which is the most popular option, is paid up addition. Paid up addition is a way for the client to purchase paid up insurance. So when they're purchasing those paid up insurance, it means that they're also going to increase the face amount over the years. They're going to have that increase in death benefit, and also the fact that they were going to have an increase in surrender value. And that's why many people are going for the paid up insurance, which is a very popular option. Like I said, over the years, chances are your clients will have a higher insurance need. If we just talk about the cost of living, I'm pretty sure $10 today is probably not going to be the same as $10 in 20 years. So sometimes we have to think like that as well, because we have to keep in mind that IAPAR is a permanent life insurance. And then under the paid up addition is there's another option that is called ADO, which I quickly mentioned earlier. The ADO, or additional deposit option, is a growth accelerator. So if the client would like to have that overfunding option, it works the similar way as the overfunding in a UL, similar, but not as flexible, but they can have the ADO. Adding the ADO is going to help them get higher death benefit and also help them get higher total cash values. And that's why I always recommend it, and especially if the client is thinking about adding the ADO in the future, maybe right now they have a lower budget, and they're thinking about overfunding in the future, I would say just apply for the ADO right now. You have to contribute only in the beginning. Next time, you don't have to keep contributing the same amount. You can simply lower the ADO anytime. But what you cannot do is not getting the ADO, not contributing to the ADO at time of application, and then in 5 years, you decide to apply for ADO. You cannot really do that. You're probably going to affect the entire policy, which also means you're going to have to provide evidence of insurability at that time. If you want to do it without evidence of insurability, without affecting the policy, you can absolutely do it in the beginning and just stop it later, which is going to take us to the next slide where we can talk about this stop and go feature. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm just going to address some questions in the chat quickly. Can parents buy whole life with dividend paid up for their kids? Yes. IAPAR is available for parents as well for children, same as universal life. Sometimes we always hear that, oh, we cannot run an illustration for children, for kids, for IAPAR or for other life insurance. It's because you just need to change the applicant. Just change the applicant. A child cannot be the policy owner. So as long as you change the applicant, you're good. Okay, so when it says taxable, yes, taxable to the owner. That's for certain dividend options. It could be taxable. In terms of, I think I answered all the questions. And then I'll show you afterward to find different materials because I'm not going to be able to share the actual PowerPoint that I'm presenting here, but I can show you after where to find all the relevant information that I'm talking about, which is exactly going to have the same information that we have, that we're seeing today. Now, regarding the stop and go features, with the ADO, that is, again, something that I will strongly recommend that you add at time of application. So you can have a peace of mind, you can have flexibility. Anytime that you want to add that growth accelerator, you can add it. But as long as you purchase it, you contribute to it at time of application. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say your premium is $10. That's going to be for the life insurance portion only. For the main product, for the basic coverage, $10. And then on your illustration is showing ADO available maximum $5. If you can add that $5, add it. That's because, let's say I'll contribute $15 total right now, or for the first 2 years, or it could be just for 1 year. And then after that, I decide to stop my ADO because I have other financial obligations and I cannot pay that premium for a certain amount of time. I can simply reduce my ADO. So I can just pay $13 in total, or I can just stop the ADO payment. So I'm going to go back. So I'm not going back, but I'm just going to pay the $10. The $10 is what I need to pay in order to keep the policy in force, keep the coverage in force. The ADO is where I can get the flexibility. If you want to get something that would accelerate the growth of my cash value, I can add more amount. What I cannot do is eventually, if I have, let's say I have a much higher budget and I'm going to ask Gaia, can I add $7 ADO instead? No, because you applied for $5, you can only add up to $5 without evidence of insurability. If you make any other change, like say you want to add $7 contribution, because you're going to most likely affect the coverage as well, it means that you're going to need to provide evidence of insurability in that case. But that's the beauty of having this feature. You stop and go. When you're ready to pay that $15 again, you can do it without evidence of insurability. And because having that flexibility is always something that I I like, because we just never know what's going to happen in the future. That's why I always recommend, if you're thinking about increasing your contribution in the future, please make sure to select the ADO, contribute as much as you can right now, so that you have that ADO room secured. Even if you decide to stop after 1 year, that's fine. But just secure the ADO room. That's what's going to give you some flexibility in terms of premium payment. Because you're going to have something that will give you more than life insurance, meaning you will have cash value. You definitely can access those. You can make partial withdrawals. You can do policy loan. You can do collateral loan, or you can also use the cash values tax-free, but only in the event of disability. Anything that is not in the event of disability can be taxed. So withdrawals, policy loan can be also taxed. And that is usually going to depend on the amount of ACV. So I'm not saying it's always going to be taxed, but it depends on when it happens. For policy loan, for example, the amount that exceeding the ACV will always be a taxable amount. For withdrawals, the taxable amount is usually determined in proportion of the amount that you're withdrawing. So that is something to keep in mind. And then, because we have a product, great product, we want to make it complete sometimes, because your client will have different needs and they don't want to have it issued under different policies. We can combine certain coverages under one plan for them. And these are the riders and additional benefits available with IUPAR. If the client has children, they would like to protect their children under the same exact plan that they have. We have the children protection here. Accidental protection is also available there. Some of them are very affordable. Some of them will be just $4 premium, and it will cover the client. Many of these riders will not even a premium that's going to depend on the client's age or gender. It's going to be a fixed premium for everyone. Having a term life insurance can be a great idea for the clients to make their coverage even more affordable if they don't necessarily need a really high amount of permanent life insurance. Because yes, when you do a financial needs analysis with your client, maybe currently you might find that they're going to need, let's say, $1 million life insurance. But also make sure to understand that $1 million life insurance, do they need it permanently? Or portion of that can be temporary. If it can be partially temporary, you can definitely do a layering. So life insurance permanent, add a term rider, can make it much more affordable for a client, and it just meet their needs. You can also find different documents on the document center. This is in the advisor center. So you will see that there's different languages, not for all the marketing documents, but we try to make it available for most of them. For IUPAR specifically, we do have that in different languages, which I'm going to show you where to find after. Then let me just quickly go in the chat. What is the minimum number of years to pay the ADO? There's no minimum number of years. As long as you start the contribution for the ADO, there's no minimum number of years. Even if after 1 year you decide to stop, that's fine. And then for collateral loan, that's usually, for more detail about it, is usually something that you would see with other financial institutions, but it's not really taxable. The financial institution is going to establish all the terms and conditions with the collateral loan. And then the other question is regarding I'll try to remember the illustration after. I can try to do it for a child. Yeah, we'll do it for a child after. So I can also show you how to change the policy owner or the applicant. Now, for the dividend. Dividend is only guaranteed for a calendar year. So before 2023 started, we announced the dividend on the Connected, how much percentage it would be for 2023. So this year it's 6%. Mind you, when we started with a dividend rate of 5.75%. And we got asked about why that rate. Is because we wanted to start with a more prudent approach. And this is exactly the reason why we talk about discipline, stability, strength. Strength with the IAPAR, because you're going to allow your client to benefit from the strength of one of the largest insurance companies in Canada and also wealth management groups in Canada. We do have a team that is working on in terms of the participating account. It is managed by the iA Global Asset Management. And on that team, we have over 180 people. We also have over 100 investment professionals, over 50 CFA charter holders. So it is really managed by professionals. And the participating account, you will have a very diversified asset class. And we're also using a smoothing technique, which you probably have heard about that when we talk about the SRD account on Universal Life, but we're also using it in order to weaken variations to make sure that we can favor long-term stability. And that's why we started the IAPAR with a prudent and measured approach. So that 5.75%, we wanted to make sure that we didn't have to decrease it in the next few years. Instead, we were actually able to increase it. And this really just shows you how those dividend interest rates over time work. It started at a higher percentage. Many companies out there have to decrease their rate with the current situation, with what happened. They have to decrease their rate. With iA, we want to avoid that decreasing graph. We want to either increase it, worst case scenario, keep the same. So when we launched the IAPAR, we started off with a version that were more focused on long-term. That is called the estate version. About 1 year, 2 years later, we decided that we're going to launch another version because we have different demographic that we also want to make sure that they can find something that they need from us, from our products. And that is why we decided to launch the wealth version. So many different clientele out there. So to help you understand in which situation should you give the estate wealth, the par wealth or par estate to your client, these are few criteria you might want to look for. For the premiums, the estate version is going to give you lower premium. If you compare the same exact face amount and look at the premium, when you compare estate and wealth, you're going to see that the estate version is going to give you something that will be more affordable. The wealth version, it is going to give you something higher in terms of premium. However, if your client is looking for maximized short-term total cash value, the wealth version might be something that they would want. The estate version, not as much. The estate version is more focused on long-term. So if you're going to look at the total insurance amount in, let's say, at the life expectancy year of the client, you might see that you're going to have a higher insurance amount with the estate version versus the wealth version. So really, there's no right or wrong product in general, because both are great product for different clients. It's really a matter of giving the right version for the right client. So when you ask us the question about what is the perfect plan that you have, If I knew the answer to that question, I would probably just train on that. But the reason why we're training and we're presenting you different options is because you will have different clients who probably need one plan better than the other. My recommendation is always to run different illustrations, run different comparisons. It doesn't have to be between estate and wealth. It can also be between par and universal life. Also understand what is the client looking for. Are they looking for guarantees or flexibilities? What is the client's budget? What is their goal? Are they looking for the higher cash value at time of retirement? Are they looking for something that will give them the highest net estate value at life expectancy? It's really going to depend on the clients. So that's why those questions about what is the best plan that you have, it's never something that we can easily answer. Let's look at these two versions. We said estate is more focused on long-term values, wealth is more focused on short-term values. You will notice that with the estate version, because we don't really, this is not really about maximizing your short-term cash values. You will see the cash surrender value there, but it's only going to start on the 5th anniversary of the contract. On the other end, the wealth version is going to give you that cash surrender value even from the first year. So that really can make a difference already in terms of what the client can get based on what they're paying. So on this next few slides, we're going to compare the version of the wealth version with the estate version with showing you by showing you more numbers. So this is going to show you something based on the premium of $25,000. So we're going to compare at the same exact premium, how much we can get in terms of life insurance and what we can get in terms of surrender value. The premium here is $25,000. If you look at the guaranteed surrender value, it is right there, available from year one. And then when you look at the total surrender value, because the total surrender value is actually the guaranteed surrender value plus the surrender value that you get from the dividend. That's why you get a total surrender value. The total surrender value for this specific version, which is the wealth version, if we look at year 5, you get $136,000 after 5 years. If we compare that with the estate version, same amount of premium, $25,000 per year, you can see that the guaranteed surrender value is not seen anywhere for the first 4 years, but it can only be there on the 5th year of the contract. And then if you look at the total surrender value, for the same exact premium that the client is paying, they only have $31,000 on the 5th year if we're comparing the same. So previously we had 5th year 136, and here we have 31,000. That's a huge difference. But then when we look at different other numbers, say in terms of life insurance amount, with the estate version, for the same exact premium, the client is able to have a life insurance amount of 1.1 million at age 70, which is probably going to be higher if you look at later years, such as age 80, age 90, it's going to be much higher. But then if we compare that with the wealth version, at age 70, they only have a little bit over $1 million in terms of life insurance amount. So you're probably going to see a much higher, much bigger difference if you're looking at an even later year on the illustration. But the wealth version is going to give you less life insurance in the future. And the estate version is going to give you a little more higher life insurance amount if we look at life expectancy or even from age 70, as you can see here. So who are our target clientele? Affluent clients, business owners, parents, grandparents, probably better for estate version. They want to protect their estate. They want to make sure that their loved ones can get as much asset as possible. And then for the wealth version, this is more for wealthy client. It works better for wealthy clients. The more you put into this policy, the better results you can have. And then for business owners as well. In this few slides, I'm going to highlight some key points about specifically the wealth version actually. The wealth version will give you the best short-term total surrender values overall for the first 10 years with iA Financial Group. We also have a product that has the fastest break-even point. Now, what we call break-even point? A break-even point is where you start seeing more return if you're comparing that amount to what you've been paying over the years. So the earlier that break-even point is, the better. Because you might keep paying the premium. In the beginning, the premium that you're paying might be higher than the return that you're getting. So the return that you're getting, I'm talking about the cash value. But when the cash value starts to be higher than the accumulated premiums that you paid, that's when we talk about the break-even point, because you're getting more in return versus what you paid. So the earlier that is, the better the scenario. Even with the wealth version, you still get a very competitive death benefit at life expectancy. Like we saw earlier, we had the wealth version and we still had at age 70 about $1 million for the client in terms of life insurance amount. And you also have a product that's among the least sensitive to alternative scenarios for short-term values. Now, have a couple of minutes left. I'm going to take you to the Advisor Center first because I said I wanted to show you where you can find all these products, materials. So all we have to do is go on ia.ca. Let me type it in again. All you have to do is open your internet browser, ia.ca. I'm just going to translate this to English. And I'm going to go to connect. I don't know why this did not translate properly, but let's go to connect. There you go. Once you're there, select under business space, Advisor Center. Once you have it open, you don't even need to log in. And by the way, you can see it here. You didn't even need to go on there connected. I wanted you to check there connected, but you just probably saw the slideshow for 2024. The dividend rate has already been posted, 6.25%. There you go, which is only guaranteed for 2024. I'm not saying for 2025 it's going to be the same, but like you can see, we didn't even need to decrease our rate. We were able to increase it. So you're going to see all these news right here. And then we have Document Center. Document Center, as long as you enter a keyword, you'll be able to find different documents here. And when I say selecting the right version for the right client, this can be a great material for you. You also have a product summary. And if you want to have something a little bit more detailed, product guide will be your friend. Product guide is going to explain you in detail how each part component works. So this is where you can find it. Now let's go to the illustration actually. I'm going to share Evo right now. And I'm going to go under participating life insurance. And before I run an illustration, I'm going to quickly show where is the make an e-change button, because I know I got a question regarding making a change on Evo. If you want to do it for an enforced policy, that's life insurance or critical illness, you can do it on Evo by going under make an e-change. It will ask you to log in, enter the policy number, and everything will be pre-populated for you automatically based on your selections. The only things that you cannot do on Evo for make an e-change for insurance, so that's life insurance or critical illness, The only thing not available in terms of transactions are conversion and dissociation. Anything else you can do electronically. Okay, so let's go under participating life insurance right now. And like you can see here, you have different versions, IAPAR estate and IAPAR wealth, different payment duration as well. So if you want something that's payable to age 100 to make it more affordable for a client, it is available. If you have a client who would like to pay something quicker because who wants to pay up to age 100, it is also available. And you have 10-year payment as well, if they want something even to be paid in an even shorter duration. So I'm going to select one of these options. 20-year payment is something that's very popular. I'm going to do this for a child, which was the request that I got in the chat earlier. So let's say a 3-year-old. As you can see, as soon as I enter the client's age, I get a message at the top. So when you run an illustration and you get a message, I want you to always read these messages carefully, because that can make a difference in what you're going to do after. Because oftentimes when people are saying these messages, they already think, oh, IA doesn't give a 3-year-old IAPAR. No, all you need to do right here is change the applicant. Like it says at the top, an applicant must be at least 16 years old. Please replace the applicant with an individual of 16 years old. So yeah, let's protect the client. This is under client 1. So I'm gonna give it a name to make it easier to understand how to actually run it. So let's say this is for Baby Smith, 3-year-old, apply. Baby Smith's information, when I enter this under insured person, the same exact information is also pre-populated under applicant, which is the reason why I got this message at the top. Because this is for applicants, and applicant is also can be called policy owner. So a 3-year-old cannot be a policy owner. All you need to do here is click on Baby Smith again, but the one that's under applicant. And once you click on it, let's say Father Smith, 40 years old, now apply. As soon as I click on that, this is now, that message just disappeared. Now, in terms of coverage, let's say 100,000. And keep in mind that this is something to be paid in 20 years, something that they will have for life. I'm gonna show you the ADO here. When you click on ADO, which is gonna be available after you select paid up addition, by the way, sorry, I forgot to mention that. This is where you can select your dividend option. You don't have to select paid up addition and you're not gonna be able to change it. You can absolutely change it eventually. But for now, I'm going to select paid up addition. When I select that option, I'm gonna be able to select the ADO. And when you click on under the amount box, it's going to show you what's the minimum and maximum for ADO. So if you're gonna enter the ADO, the minimum is gonna be $10. The maximum is going to be $59. I always say enter the maximum, so 59. If the client decides to stop the ADO eventually, if you look on the right-hand side, you have the IAPAR estate 20-year payment. That is the base coverage. That is the premium that you absolutely need to pay in order to keep this coverage $100,000 face amount IAPAR in force. If you decide to stop the ADO, you can stop it. But you have to select it at time of application and contribute. Start with that. If after 2 years the client says, hey, I'm tired of paying the ADO, let me stop it. They can, and they can start again whenever they're ready. If you want to increase it or decrease it, you can increase it, but only up to $59 when you're ready again. And you can decrease it. It could be $30. It could be anything between $10 to $59. So you can only stop and go or decrease the ADO from the $59 if you took the maximum, but you cannot pay more than $59 in terms of ADO. And if you decide to pay more than that, that will all going to be subject to evidence of insurability because it can affect the whole coverage. Now, I'm gonna uncheck this to make the next thing that I'm gonna explain easier to understand. So I'm going to compare wealth version and estate version right now. So what I like to do is, instead of going back to home and do all the previous steps all over again, I'm just going to click on add a scenario, which is at the top. This is for me to compare with the wealth version, 20-year payment. And we say that this is going to be for 3-year-old. Get the error message again. Change my clients to the same, another client who is 40 years old, just as an example. Just wanted to make that message disappear. And then now I am going to change the face amount to be the same, 100,000. With the wealth version, as you can see, the premium is much higher. We have a premium deposit of $147 with the wealth version. And by the way, there's no policy fee. Nowhere, there's no policy fee at all for IAPR. And for the estate version, the premium deposit is $122. And this shows already to you that the wealth version is more expensive than the estate version. In terms of result, and I am under estate right now. If we look at the surrender value, so as you can see, the guaranteed surrender values, we don't see any of that until the 5th year of the contract because this is estate version. For the total surrender value, which will also include the dividend, we can look at, let's say, the 8th year, $4,000. Estate version. If I look at the result under the wealth version, on the 8th year, only have 12,000. I have 12,000 actually. That's for the wealth version. In terms of long-term results, sorry, before I go there, with the wealth version, you already have the guaranteed surrender value from year 1. Now, if I look at the life expectancy of the client, let's say age 85, 1.3 million for life insurance. And if I go back to the estate version, age 85, it's 1.9. But the reason for that is because my premium here is much lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to coverage. We're not comparing the same premium. We're not comparing the same premium in the beginning. So right now, I'm going to switch this from amount to premium and show you, let's say for $150 premium, what I can get. First of all, in terms of life insurance amount, I have $122,000. And I'm going to change the premium for the wealth version to the same. So $150 as well. And now I have only a little bit over $100,000 in terms of life insurance. So for the same exact premium, if we have to compare the long term, what the client can have, you'll probably see that with the estate version, you're going to have a higher amount. So 1.3 million here. And with the estate version, at age 85 of the client, you get a little bit higher. But then the longer you wait, the more difference you're going to see. Because estate version is going to grow higher over the years. The wealth version is more focused on short-term growth. And also in terms of surrender value, you can compare the same. 1.4 at age 90 for surrender value. And then at age 90, sorry, very similar with these ones. Short-term values, same thing. Year 6, 9,000 for the wealth version. The estate version is going to give you on year 6, 2,000. So depending on your client situation, their budget, what are you using in terms of projection, you might not have the same result for everyone. Sometimes you're going to see a much bigger difference in terms of result between those two. Sometimes you're going to have a little bit of difference. That's why I say, please feel free to always run different comparison when you do this for your client, because when you look at the result, that's going to answer your question. Can you make a change from pay 100 to pay 20 after a policy in force? Usually that's going to be more change of plan, but I can double check for you with the enforced policy services. If you can just let me know. I hope you got my phone number earlier. I can double check for you just to make sure, because when it's about a transaction on an enforced policy, sometimes we have different changes and we're not always aware of the updates. So I can double check with our team. All right. And that also concludes my training. Thank you everyone for attending. I hope that helped. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us. Thank you everyone and have a wonderful day.